So let's dive right into the book. I hope you already bought your books and you have your books open with you right now, and I hope you have installed the ArcMap software. So chapter 1 is about getting an introduction or getting comfortable with the software. We will learn how to open and save a map document, work with map layers, navigate in a map document, measure the distances, work with feature attributes, select features, work with table attributes, and work with labeling features. So there are about 8 tutorials and we'll get through them today. So getting started, open your map documents, ArcMap, which you can find under ArcGIS, ArcMap 10.2, 10.1, it's all the same. There is not a whole lot of difference. So once you open that, you should see something like this. So just click on open, or actually just click on open map here and go to your C drive ESRI press. Under GIST1 you should have maps folder in which you'll find tutorial 1.1. click on that and click open. So that's your first step. So once you do that, you got your map document open. So don't worry about this layer, you won't see that. You see a map document with the United States, US cities. There are 2 layers, and you also see some regular stuff like a standard toolbar, a tools toolbar, and a layout toolbar. Okay, so standard tool, don't worry if you don't see them, you can add them quite easily. Right click on any empty space and click on layout or draw or standard or whatever that is. So I'm just gonna dog these so that I can have some proper defined workspace. I'm gonna dog these right next to each other. So let's look at the map document itself. This is menu bar essentially, and then there is this standard toolbar where you have new, open, save, print, cut, copy, paste, delete, undo, redo, and add button, add data, where you can click on that and you can add data. And there is a scale bar, you can control the scale of the map using this. And then there is edit toolbar where you can edit features using that. And then there is table of contents, which is this one right here. If I ever close this, you can just click on this table of contents. If not, you can click on table of contents from your Windows menu too. And then there is search and catalog and our toolbox, which are right here. When I click on our catalog, it comes up because it's been auto hidden. If I close this, I'm just gonna click on catalog and I'm gonna auto hide that because I need that all the time. The same with our toolbox. I can click on our toolbox, bring up all the tools available in our ArcMap, my probably proximity, some buffer, multiple buffer, something like that. Anyways, I'm gonna auto hide that too. And then there is the Python window where you can write your own Python code, and then the model builder window, which we will not get to in this exercise, in this chapter. So, and then there is the standard, the tools toolbar where you have your standard tools like zoom in. You can click on that, draw rectangles using your left click on your mouse, and then go back, and then zoom out. The same thing, you can click on it or draw an area to actually zoom out. And then there is pan to move your map around, navigate in your map. And then there is click on full extent, which will let you zoom to your entire map. And then there are tools like fix zoom in and zoom out, and previous and next extent. I'll show you what that does. Let's zoom into St. Louis area. This is my current extent. The previous extent was the US states view, the entire United States. So I'm gonna click on previous extent, and then I'm gonna click on my next extent, which happens to be St. Louis area. So that's how you use that. And then there is select features and select elements and clear select features, and there is identify, where you can click on any one of the features and you can get the name, all the attributes, all the field, all the information about that stored in the attribute table. And this is how you access the attribute table. Right click on any layer, click on open attribute table, and you can access the attribute table. And then there are hyperlink and HTML pop-up, which we will talk about. And then there is a measure toolbar, measuring tool, and finding tool, which we will see in this exercise too. And this is the table of contents. This is the map view, and there is another view called layout view. So this is the data view, map data view, and that's the layout view. What else do you need to know before we start with tutorial 1.1? Nothing. So we already opened a map, and then we're gonna play around with it a little bit, and then we're gonna save this map to a new location. Save as. We're gonna save this map into my exercises chapter 1. I'm gonna save this as tutorial 1.1 and click save. So moving on to tutorial 2. This is working with map layers. So map layers are nothing but references to data sources or points or lines or whatever. So these two are actually map layers. So let's turn a layer on and off. So I'm gonna turn my US cities off and on, and same with my US states. And I'm gonna add and remove map layers. I can click on add button, and I'm gonna add, if you go to your GIS tutorial 1 folder, there is data folder, under which there is US folder. I'm gonna add Colorado counties as one of my layers. So if you actually don't see that, I'm gonna click on, there's a little trick you need to do, which is actually connecting to a folder. When you click on connect to a folder, you can actually say go to my computer, go to C drive, and go to SRI press and click on OK. So once you do that, you will be able to see SRI press as part of your drop down menu, and then you'll be able to add the data or access the data relatively easily. So that's how you add data, using the add data button, or you can actually go to your catalog and click on SRI press. Again, if you don't see it here, click on connect to a folder and GS1 data, and I'm gonna click on United States, double click on that, and then Colorado County. So you can drag and drop that again. So since I added that layer twice, I'm gonna remove one of those, which is essentially right clicking and removing. So since that's done, there is something called relative paths. Since these map layers are just referring to the actual data source, once the data source is moved, or you actually share this map with a client or maybe a colleague or something, they won't be, if they don't have the same data structure, you won't be able to see the same map, and you'll see like a red exclamation mark right next to it. So what you need to do is make sure that the map is being saved as saved with relative path names. So if this is turned off, turn that on, click on apply, click on OK, and that's easy peasy. So we already did this, dragging and dropping a layer from Colorado from the our catalog window, and I'm gonna auto hide. I already auto, how to auto hide a window, right? Make sure it is sideways, not up down like that. Just click on auto hide and it will auto hide your windows, catalog and search, and our catalog our toolbars windows. So the next task is to change the layers display order. So what happens if I add my counties again, and I also want to add my Colorado streets. So once I add them, so what's gonna happen here? If I move my United States to the bottom of the map, I won't be able to see it, because in ArcMap it is always drawn bottom up, which means United States layer has been drawn first, and then United States have been overlaid on top, and then the Colorado counties have been drawn, and the streets. So if I move my streets under the states, you won't be able to see the streets anymore. You see, it disappeared. So the same way, you need to move your United States to the top so that you can see all the layers. So always remember, bottom up. So you need to keep the layers you want to see first on top of everything else. So changing a layer color. So I want to change my Colorado counties to a light green color probably, and then change the outline color to maybe red. Okay, that's that. And navigate tutorial 1.3, we need to navigate in a map document. This is how you do it. You use your zoom in, zoom out buttons. I'm gonna draw a rectangle around Florida. I zoomed in. What I need to do, what I can do here is actually fixed zoom, play with it. Zoom out, zoom in, zoom out. So previous extent, next extent, you can play with this all day, so that you get comfortable with it. So what I need to do here is that I'm going to show you something called a magnifier window, which is accessible under the Windows toolbar, Windows menu. Click on magnifier. So it essentially literally acts as a magnifying window, magnifying glass. You can actually zoom in, zoom out. You can see it is exactly like magnifying glass. It's just not real, you can't really hold it. But if I zoom to just the full extent again, if I move on top of, you see Colorado, I can see Colorado streets and stuff at a different extent, because they are zoomed in and it's acting as a magnifying glass. Now it's at 700%, so it's zooming in even more. Now it's at 1000%, so it's just zooming in even more. So that's how magnifying window works. I'm gonna close this. So if you want, you can go to properties of this window, and you can say how you want to, do you want to use this as a viewer, or do you want to use this as a magnifying window, magnify by what %, or you can control the scale. You can do multiple things here. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to click on 400 here, right click, go to properties. I'm going to click on 800%, click on apply. Now I can move around without using this as a magnifying window at 800%. So I'm going to close this. So the next tool is overview window. So now you see there is like an orange outlined gray box which actually shows to which extent we are zoomed into. So if I zoom into, let's say, Missouri, it's gonna create like a little rectangle around Missouri. Oh, it's zooming out. So I can use this window to navigate in my main map or anything I want. So that's how you use a overview window. So now that I moved to Florida, I'm gonna create a spatial bookmark. I can essentially create a bookmark here and call it Florida, and the next time I want to get to Florida easily, I can click on bookmarks and click on Florida, and boom, I'm right there. So that's how you create bookmarks. Moving on to tutorial 1.4, measuring stuff. How do you measure distances? So click on measure tool and it'll give you a little window to work with. So this is to measure a distance, draw a line. So I'm gonna see what's the width of Florida here. So I'm gonna click on that. It says 99 miles, 100 miles almost. So you can change the units by clicking on distance. Maybe you want this in kilometers or feet or inches or whatever that is, meters. I selected miles because that's a unit I can easily understand. And then we are gonna do something, measure the width of Washington state. How do you do that? I'm gonna zoom to Washington state first. I'm gonna click on measure the distance, and I'm gonna see that it's 333 miles wide. That's amazing. So that's how you measure line distance. If you want to measure like a shape area, so I want to calculate the area of that shape. So that's about 6,000 square miles, 6,500 square miles. So what if I want to measure the area of this entire state, which is Washington? I just click this plus button right next to measure a feature, and I'm gonna click inside the polygon feature. So it's gonna give me the area, which is 67,000 square miles. So if I want to measure the area of, I don't know, Missouri, that's 69,000 square miles. Let's look at Texas. That's 264,000 square miles. That's amazing. So so that's how you measure stuff. And let's see how to work with feature attribute table. So I'm going to click on my identify tool, and I'm going to click on identify window. I'm going to click on Texas. Okay, you see now I identified Texas, and it says topmost layer. So wherever I clicked, the topmost layer is being identified. So if I click on, I don't know, Houston, so it's gonna give me only the topmost layer, which is Houston. So if I do want to control it somehow, I can do it by saying visible layers. So once I click on Houston, it's gonna show me Houston and Texas both as my it's gonna identify both of them. So if I want to restrict that to only cities, I can click on Houston now, and it's gonna just show the cities, identify only the cities. So I can click on Houston, I can flash Houston, which will identify where the feature is, and then I can zoom to Houston, I can right click and zoom to Houston, I can select Houston, I can unselect Houston, I can do a bunch of stuff with that. So once I'm zoomed into Houston, I'm gonna click on bookmarks and click on create a bookmark called Houston. So that's how you use the identify tool. Finding features. So how do you find features? What if I want to find Houston? I don't know where Houston is. How do you do that? I'm gonna click on find. I'm gonna say visible layers. I'm gonna type Houston. So it found a bunch of stuff. There's something called Houston Street in Colorado Streets, but what I'm looking for is a United States city called Houston. I'm gonna click and flash that so that I know where that is. I'm gonna click on zoom to. So that's how you find stuff. You can use this for finding anything, literally Boston. So right click, zoom to layer, so that's Boston. And now selecting features. How do you select features? I'm gonna close this find window. I'm gonna click on select features. I'm gonna zoom out to the full extent, and I want to select Texas. So I also want to select the states around Texas. So if I click on Texas and click on the state next to it, it's just gonna select one feature. So I'm gonna press and hold my shift key, and I'm gonna select the 4 adjacent states next to Texas. And now I want to change the selection options by changing the color of selection to a purple or so you see now my selection has changed color to a purple color. Now change the selection symbol. How do you change selection symbol? So what if I selected, I don't know, Kansas City? I'm gonna go to the layer properties of United States, US cities. I'm gonna go to selection tab. I'm gonna change this to a square, purple square, I don't know, red square maybe. Change the size, click OK. So now you see it's actually when I select the city, it's gonna give me a different symbology because I just changed the selection button. You know, the selected features will be selected with a different symbology. And now I'll show you how to actually set selectable layers. So when I click on a city, it's actually selecting the states also, because you know it's gonna whatever is visible, it's gonna select everything. So but how do we control that? We want to select just the cities. So I'm gonna go to my list by selection tab and right click on US cities and say, before that just clear all selection, and right click on it to say make this the only selectable layer. So once I do that, whenever I click anywhere, it's gonna select only the cities, which is what I want. But if I want to select only the states, not the cities, what I do is right click and say make this the only selectable layer. And so even if I click on, let's say, Houston, it's gonna select only the state of Texas, not Houston, because I made the states only selectable, not the other, you know, not the cities. Select by graphic. Well, you can select by graphic, obviously. How you do that is, so what you need to do is select by circle, or lasso. So I want to create my own circle in which I want to select all the cities from. So I'm gonna create a circle and say select all the states. This is the state, so I'm gonna go back and say select all the cities from this circle. You see what's happening? Maybe all the Midwest cities. So that's how you do it. Or if you want to create your own shape, you can create by lasso, where you can obviously just like create your own shape from which all the states, where all the features will be selected from within. So, and also when I select something, it's gonna show me what's being selected. So if I select all the Florida cities, it's showing me that Jacksonville, Miami and Tampa have been selected. It sort of like displays what's been selected under the list by selection tab, not in the list by drawing order tab. So working with attribute tables, how do you do that? So let's deselect everything. We want to select Chicago. How do you do that? Right click on your cities, open, click on attribute table, click on open attribute table. So I'm gonna right click on my area name and click on SNM, because I know I want to find Chicago and it's right up there. So that's how you find Chicago, by the way, like using the attribute table. And now I want to select features on the map and see selected records. So let's say if I want to select a bunch of features, like I want to select all the Midwest cities or something. So you see how the table selection has changed. It selected all 10 cities, and now I can just see the selected records, not everything else. So, and there is a way. What if I want to select all the cities except the cities I just selected? Everything else, I have to switch selection, for which there is a button. You can just click on that and it just selected everything else except the cities I just first selected. Or you can just use the drop down menu from the table and click on switch selection. Now we are back to the original selection. So we can also clear selection here, which means we have no selected features within that. So I'm just gonna go back to my all features, show all records tab. So moving a field. So what if I want to move my population of 2000 right next to the name. See how I clicked on the field. I press and hold the left mouse button and just move the field. So I want to arrange this by descending order. Right click on it, click on descending. So now I can see the top 10 cities by population: LA, New York, LA, Chicago, Houston, Philadelphia, and so on and so forth. So what if I want to do an advanced sorting? I'm gonna right click on state. I want to arrange these by state, the top cities by state, the most populated cities by state. I'm gonna click on advanced sorting. I'm gonna click on and then sort by population of 2000. So you see that? So now it is being arranged by state. At the same time, I have my the table is also sorted based on the the most populated cities within each state. That's how you do an advanced sort. Getting stats. Okay, let's get the stats for all the I'm gonna clear selection, go back to my states. I'm gonna select the 5 states here. I want the total population for all these states. So what I do is I go to my show selected records tab, right click on population of 2000, click on statistics, and that's how you get the total population of 33 million. And it'll give you how many states there are, which is the count, the minimum population, the smallest state, the largest state, the sum and the mean and the standard deviation, all that good stuff. So moving on, we have labeling features, which is, so I want to label US cities. So I'm gonna zoom into Florida, right click on US cities, go to properties and click on label features tab, labels tab. Click on label features in this layer and maybe change the color to red, something like that, and change the font if you want, and then click OK. That's awesome. But if you actually pan or zoom out, maybe you can see the rest of the features have been labeled, but I want to label only the cities in Florida. What do you do? Zoom into Florida again, right click on US cities and click on convert labels to annotation in the map, in the features, in the current text, and click OK. So now we can actually move the labels. Before we can't move the labels, now we can. So that's how you control the placements and the properties if the other methods fail, which we'll see later. So what if I want to change the name of Tampa? Maybe, I don't know, city of Tampa probably. I can do that here. Before you couldn't do that because you cannot control individual labels. So that's how you do it. So now your task is to actually go and finish assignments 1.1 and 1.2, and I will see you next week. Good luck. Don't forget to turn your assignments into Blackboard. Thank you.